Maritime Anti-Corruption Network, on behalf of the Port Reform Steering Committee, which includes all the agencies of government at all the ports in Nigeria who are involved with this project, we welcome you. On behalf of DANIDA, which is the Danish International Development Agency, that is also providing support for the stakeholder engagements, we welcome you to this event. We know that the port sector has been seriously challenged in Nigeria. It's not just ports, it's the ports and terminals, and even some of the floating production centers that are way, way, way deep offshore. We know that there have been complaints, there have been challenges around getting effective and efficient service delivery through these ports, and usually it's for different reasons. For example, in Lagos, we know that the physical infrastructure around the ports themselves, for example, the roads, absence of railways, and so on, makes life even more difficult for everyone who wants to improve efficiency at the ports. But we've also been looking at the human factor, the impact of corruption on the inefficiencies that we face at the ports, both for vessel clearance and cargo clearance. And we're hoping that today we will be able to discuss these issues in a very constructive manner. What we're hoping to leave here with at the end of the day is an idea of what the solution looks like and how to make sure that the solution keeps working for more Nigerians and more users of the ports and terminals, including international callers at those ports and terminals. The exercise book in your bags actually has the agenda for the day. So if you open the exercise book, you will find the agenda there. We're supposed to have registration, tea, coffee, followed by a general welcome. This is the general welcome that I am doing currently. And we hope to then go into welcome remarks, after which, instead of goodwill messages, we're going to have a short presentation on a piece of research that was done on the ports and terminals. Then we will have a panel session where we will discuss, instead of discussing just challenges, we will discuss the solutions, what solutions are possible. Then we will have a question and answer session where, if certain challenges have still not been addressed, we hope that we will be able to discuss robustly the challenges. Then we know that here, present with us, are quite a number of people from different government agencies. And we will give the government agencies who haven't had a chance to speak in the panel session, they will have a chance to speak first before we throw it open to question and answer. So, for instance, I think we should recognize Mr. Demola Bakari from the ICPC, who is the Deputy Commissioner. He's here with us today. Mr. Bakari, please, can you wave? We have Bosede Oguntuberu, who is from TUGA, the Technical Unit on Government Anti-Corruption Reforms. They are based in the NEITI. We have Mr. Enes Chima of the Immigration Service. Okay, you're welcome, sir. We have Engineer Dosumu T. Tajuddin of SON, Standards Organization. You're welcome. Representatives of MAN, that's the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria. You're welcome. We have someone here, Mr. Israel from Lagos Chamber of Commerce. So we know we have from CRFFN. We also have the Commander CCE, Mr. Fidel Kokodia of NDLEA is also here. You're welcome. And I know there are many other distinguished parties who are here with us today. So without much further ado, I would like to invite Mr. Vivek Menon, representing the Maritime Anti-Corruption Network, to give us his welcome remarks. Mr. Menon. Please, a round of applause for him. We know the room was cold, and we hope we have solved that now and removed the fridge, and so we can be much warmer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Papa. A very good morning to everyone. Very good morning to everyone.
Good
morning. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I want to start off by saying that before I came to Nigeria, about a few months ago, when I got my visa done, it just took 3 days. 3 days, I had my passport with the visa. It took 10 minutes to come in when I came into the Nigerian airport. Many years ago, it took 30 days to get one. So I think that, for me, is an example of service delivery at its best. So today we are gathered to address a similar topic that I think is also very core to the people of Nigeria. How can we deliver Nigerian seaport and terminal to become an effective and efficient integral part of Nigeria's vision of ease of doing business? Shipping, by its own nature, is a very traditional, and in many would say it's a very conservative industry. And having worked on ships myself for some years, I very much share that notion. But it also brings certain traditional practices, especially when a ship comes to port during that interface. It is a practice of gratification that comes in various forms. And I know that firsthand myself, having experienced that. However, these days, there are various laws in place where it prohibits such practices, and thus have driven initiatives like the Maritime Anti-Corruption Network. Maritime Anti-Corruption Network is a global business network that provides a forum for businesses to contribute in eliminating corrupt practices in the maritime industry, or in other words, to raise the integrity levels in the industry overall. So today, the Maritime Anti-Corruption represents 125 global members. That represents almost 30% of global tonnage, around 80% of the container tonnage, and it comprises of around 8,000 ships or vessels. They are a composition of ship owners, cargo owners, vessel managers, including cargo owners and other service providers like port agents. They're part of the membership. Over the years, MACN, or the Maritime Anti-Corruption Network, has developed and shared various practical tools and best practices on anti-corruption to the maritime industry. We have also implemented various collective action initiatives in various countries, including Nigeria. Specifically in Nigeria, we have been working hard in implementing the standard operating procedures and the grievance reporting mechanism through the Port Service Support Portal, PSSP in short, that was developed by the Nigerian government. It is our objective with such events to launch a series of interventions aimed at promoting transparency and consistency in the application of these standard operating procedures, thereby leading to a more predictable, in time and cost, vessel and cargo clearance at Nigerian ports and terminals. It also gives stakeholders such as yourselves at this event an opportunity to be a part of this collective action to improve the effectiveness and efficiency of Nigerian ports and terminals. We believe through collective action we can create a safer, simpler, and efficient operating environment which benefits everyone, and most importantly, is respected by everyone. Not long ago, a good friend of mine said, the secret of Nigeria is in its people. And I've seen that myself, and I've been humbled by your hospitality in various forms. So I must thank you very much for that. Last but not the least, I wish you all a very successful day ahead, and I look forward to discussions that will unfold and interacting with you in person. Thank you very much.
I think we can be a bit more generous with our applause. Yes, Mr. Vivek Menon, who also was a shipmaster once upon a time and is now an anti-corruption crusader today. I think he deserves some accolades from us. Before we go much further, I would like us to receive a presentation now by the anti-corruption advisor at the Integrity Organization, Mr. Babatunde Oluwajo, who would make a quick presentation.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I want to do a quick presentation on the report you have with you. This was a presentation that we did as an effort at baseline study on the awareness as well as the consistency, transparency, and predictability of some of the reform efforts of the government. As Vivek did mention, the government working with, through the port agencies, were able to develop standard operating procedures, and this as part of the Port Service Support Portal project that was supported by both MACN as well as the UNDP as well as the Nigerian government. The first part of the presentation, we want to look at the responses of about 100 Nigerian port users in terms of their awareness of the standard operating procedure of the port agencies. Next, thank you. With regards to the respondents, so they were picked randomly, and they were picked from those who were working in administration from shipping companies as well as cargo handling companies. We have those, about 48% of the respondents were involved in cargo clearance. 22 were members of management of shipping companies, and about 5% are captains, local captains, as well as 21% were those who were involved in vessel clearance. Next, please. Then the businesses, in terms of the business, what's the nature of the business of the respondents? What were the nature of the business of the companies that they were working for? About 31% of them were working in both vessel as well as cargo clearance, while about 53% were involved in just cargo clearance, and about 15% were involved in vessel clearance. In terms of awareness of the standard operating procedures that were developed by the port agencies, we had about 92% of the respondents saying that they are aware of the standard operating procedures, while 8% of the respondents said they are not aware of the existence of the standard operating procedures. In terms of use of the standard operating procedures, a total of 97.8 said they have used elements of the standard operating procedures in their business dealings with agencies in the port, and about 2% said they have never used or utilized the standard operating procedures. As part of the Port Service Support Portal, a grievance, or rather the Port Service Support Portal embodies, a grievance mechanisms that provides the opportunity for redress for port users as well as providing an opportunity for port users to provide feedback in terms of the quality of service as well as adherence to the standard operating procedures that the port agencies have developed. A total of 85% said they are aware of the standard of the grievance mechanisms, while 15% said they are not aware. I must, however, say this, that in the course of doing this research, we realized that there are more than one grievance mechanisms. So in responding to these questions, respondents were actually referring to the various grievance mechanisms that exist within the port sector or that are accommodated within each of the various agencies operating within the ports. In terms of utilization of the grievance mechanisms, we have a total of 86% of respondents said that they have at one point or the other utilized the various grievance mechanisms that exist within the port sector, while 14% said they have never used it. With regards to procedures at the ports and terminals, about 56% we are saying that the procedures are transparent. A total of 53% said the procedures are consistent, while 49% said that the procedures within the port are predictable. That is, when you do business with the port, you are sure of the predictability, you are sure of the consistency, and then the procedures are transparent. That was the response of the respondents. Now, we equally made efforts to, get the feedback of ship captains, those who call on Nigerian ports, who are not necessarily Nigerians, to get their own feelings with regards to the standard operating procedures as well as the grievance mechanisms. With regards to our seaports, in terms of transparency, consistency, and predictability, for Borutu, Calabar, Lagos Port Complex, the One Port, the Port Harcourt Port Complex, the Tinkan Island Port, and Warri, they all scored between 21% to 40% in terms of their transparency, their consistency, and predictability in terms of their operations. That was the response of ship captains who call our Nigerian port. In terms of the terminals, the responses were a bit different. We have a number of them, especially the Korodu Lighter Terminal and Kirikiri, as well as Sapele Terminal, scoring between 61% and 80% in terms of the transparency of the operation, the consistency, and predictability. Others didn't do so well. We have a Bonny Terminal scoring just about 21% in terms of the ratings of vessel captains. With regards to the transparency of SOPs, the standard operating procedure at Nigerian ports, the ship captains said that Lagos Port Complex and Apapa, they were rated highest in terms of transparency with about 33.33%, followed by Port Harcourt Port with 26.7%, while all the other ports in Nigeria, seaports, got about 20% rating from the ship captains who responded to the survey. In terms of the consistency of application of SOPs at the sea terminals, thus the Lagos Port and Apapa got a consistency rating of about 30%, while the other seaports just got about average of 20% each. In terms of predictability of clearance timelines and charges at the port, Borutu and Tinkan Island Port got the highest predictability rating of 40%, followed by the Lagos Port Complex with a score of 33.3%. In terms of transparency of the standard operating procedures at the sea terminals, the response of the ship captains is that on the average, sea terminals scored about 60% in terms of the transparency, that if you are calling at those seaports as ship captains, in terms of the operations, you can score them about 60%. In terms of the consistency in the application of the standard operating procedures at the sea terminals, Kirikiri Terminal and Sapele Terminal were rated highest at about 80% by the ship captains who call at those sea terminals. With regards to the predictability of clearance in terms of timelines and charges at the sea terminals, a good number of the terminals were rated 60% as in terms of predictability of clearance timelines and charges at this sea terminal. So, in brief, this is a summary of the findings from the survey that was conducted by those who use the services of in Nigerian ports, both from local users as well as international users represented by the ship captains who call on Nigerian ports. Thank you very much.
Okay. Well, another round of applause for Mr. Oluwajo, particularly for making it brief and and saving our time. Before going much further, let me just summarize one finding from the survey, which was that the further away on land you go from Lagos, the more likely it was that somebody will ask you for an illegal payment. The further away from land you go to deep offshore, the more likely it is that somebody will ask you for an illegal payment as well. So we found as MACN two main challenges. That yes, the big wigs seem to be at the Lagos Port Complex, but away from Lagos Port Complex, a different set of rules seem to apply. We're now in the eastern ports, so maybe you will let us know whether this is true or false. We also know of a vessel that's called at Akpo FPSO just last week, and they had bitter complaints about being kept for hours and not allowed to come into the PSO to do their business because certain charges were being asked of them, certain payments were being required. In the end, they were allowed in without those payments being made. But just to mention, I would also like to mention that we have the president of the National Association of Chambers of Commerce, Industry, Mines and Agriculture, Hajia Saratu Iya Aliyu, being represented here by Chief Nabil Saleh, who is the president of Port Harcourt Chamber of Commerce. Can you please, yes, a round of applause for him, please. We also have Wambil Yusuf, Assistant Director NIMASA, who is here. Okay, you're welcome, sir. A round of applause for him as well. I think we can really exercise the hands. This room is too cold. Maybe we'll generate some heat and electricity in the process. Thank you very much indeed. So now we're coming to the heart of the matter. I think this is the time that we've been waiting for, and we're going to have a brief discussion, a panel discussion about these issues. If I may invite, first of all, Mr. Vivek Menon of the MACN to come straight up and join the panel and take his seat at the far end there. A round of applause for him, please. Let me ask Mr. Moses Fadikpe of the Nigeria Shippers Council to also join the panel. Mr. Demola Bakari of the ICPC, if you could please join the panel as well. Mr. Fadikpe, beside him. Then Mrs. Bose Oguntuberu of Tuga, if you could please join the panel so that the men don't overshadow us. Then Mr. Israel Odubola of Lagos Chamber of Commerce, please join us here. We know that there are many more stakeholders, and we would like them to have an opportunity to speak. And as I had mentioned earlier, we're going to come back to those who are representing other agencies in the ports to have a say in what is happening before we go much further. So, distinguished panelists, I wonder who will be able to give us a quick, brief history of the project so far. We understand that since 2012, the MACN got in touch with the Nigerian government to complain about the high levels of corruption at the ports and terminals. Could you please talk us through the major milestones? Yes, there's a mic beside you.
Good morning, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, everyone. Okay, I've been asked to give a brief history of the project, how it started. According to Mr. Pampa, the project started in 2012 when MACN requested the Nigerian government reporting to the Nigerian government about the level of corruption in the Nigerian ports. So before then, there was a training on corruption risk assessment of government, media, and civil societies. So based on that fact that we already have assessors, the presidency asked the Nigerian government to carry out a corruption risk assessment of all the Nigerian seaports. With the support of the UNDP, ICPC, TUGA, and BPP, that is Bureau for Public Procurement, a corruption risk assessment was carried on. And after the assessment, there was recommendations, which we call the integrity plan. Now, one of the recommendations is that for all the government agencies operating in the Nigerian seaports, number one, we don't have the standard operating procedures. And some agencies have, but they are long overdue for updates, while some don't have at all. And then there is no harmonized anti-corruption policy. It was discovered that there was no harmonized anti-corruption policies, and there is no central point for grievance and for complaints. It was discovered that yes, for some agencies they have, but you will discover that when you go to make to make a complaint, the person that will solve the officer that will be in charge of your complaint might be the person that you are even reporting. So there is need to have a standard complaint mechanism. That was one of the findings. And then there is this issue of joint boarding. There is no all the government agencies don't board vessels at once after port health services must have pronounced a vessel safe. So based on that, a project steering committee was set up under the Ministry of Transportation. It is being chaired by the Ministry of Transportation. Members of this project steering committee are the Nigerian Ports Authority, Nigerian Shippers Council, Nigerian Immigration Services, the Nigerian Customs, the CRFFN, that's the Council for Freight Forwarding and Regulation in Nigeria, NDLEA, and then ICPC, TUGA, and BPP are there to support the committee. Now, the achievement of the committee, number one, they've been able to put together and a harmonized standard operating procedure. We've achieved that. 2, the anti-corruption policy is also put in place. Very soon it will start functioning. Number 3 is the Port Service Support Portal. That is the grievance mechanism portal, which is being housed by the Nigerian Shippers Council. It's up and running. We are encouraging you all here to visit the portal, make your complaint, try to know about the standard operating procedure of all government agencies operating in the port. And this harmonized standard operating procedure was launched by the Vice President of Nigeria, Professor Yemi Oshibanjo, in 2016. So it's been there. The operation has been flagged off since 2016. It's been in use. So we are encouraging you all here to please visit that portal. It is www.pssp.ng to make complaints, to know about the standard operating procedures of all port agencies, and to know how it functions. Also, one of the achievements of the committee is that we've been receiving complaints from our port users, from our stakeholders, even from our captains, and we've had positive confession about how it works. But the issue is that we still have low traffic. So we are encouraging us, all the, stakeholders in the port, to make use of this portal and to also try to spread it across, because we know most people are not aware of it. And then the integrity CBI, we are collaborating with them because they've come to assist in publicizing the portal and the work of the Project Steering Committee. The relationship between this Project Steering Committee and CBI is as far back as 2012. They've been part of all the processes. They've trained some of our officers in the ports, the Nigerian Customs, the immigrations, and all the stakeholders in the areas of integrity. And today now, they've come to also partner with the Nigerian government to make sure we use this portal, and for us to be more conversant with the standard operating procedure. So we'll be rest assured that the Nigerian government is part of this. We are all in support of this. All our effort is to make our Nigerian seaport to be more efficient and free of corruption. So once more, we welcome you here to this gathering and wish you a fruitful deliberations. Thank you.
Okay. Please, you can clap. Thank you. So, Mr. Odubola, we hear that everything is now perfect. Is that the case? What is the experience of businesses that are under the Lagos Chamber of Commerce? You have a mic there.
Good morning, everyone.
Yeah.
The Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry is a private sector advocacy group where we represent the interest of some 2,000 companies in the Lagos business community. What we basically do is to advocate on public policy issues.
Okay.
That affect.
I would interrupt you a bit,
Okay.
please. Can you tell us what the challenges are that the members are facing with regards using the ports, for example, in Lagos?
I
Yes.
think in Lagos, basically, the challenges actually is the poor infrastructures. We all know that the roads linking to the ports, they are very, very bad and they are in dilapidated condition. But we are not relenting in engaging government to ensure that this infrastructure are fixed, considering the importance infrastructure holds in the cost of doing business or in the business environment. And it's even one of our plans in the next year, 2020, coming up.
Okay. Mr. Fadipe, you have heard that people have said that there are these reforms going on. There are challenges with infrastructure in Lagos. What exactly is there for us to put forward as solutions to the challenges that shippers are having? And maybe before you answer, if you can talk us through the process because we know that those doing vessel clearance will be concerned about pilotage. They'll be concerned about the ability of their vessels to come into ports. They'll be concerned about all of the government officials that they have interface with before you start to look at what happens on the cargo side for the users. So what exactly has changed? What has improved? What should stakeholders look forward to in terms of a solution?
Thank you, Mr. Pampa. Good morning, all, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very pleased to be in your midst this morning. From the two perspectives, sir, you mentioned, the waterfront and the hinterland. What is the concern of people at the waterfront? I mean the vessel owners. One thing is crystal clear: time and cost. The extent to which they can minimize those two factors, the better for our shippers hinterland, before we talk about infrastructure. At the waterfront, who are the actors responsible to make sure these two factors are taken to the barest minimum? Those are the government agencies and the private terminal operators. To what extent are they able to carry out their duties without hindrance? From pilotage to vessel anchorage at the berth, and for government agencies doing their statutory operations on board of those vessels before the terminals will now discharge their duties. It has been established, as we speak, that there is a lot of delays right from anchorage to the berth. That has been established.
What do you mean a lot of dealings? What does that mean?
A vessel at anchorage,
Yes.
staying for like upward of 1 hour at anchorage, even though he has made all the necessary payments to the responsive agency to pilot that vessel in. Why should that vessel still wait at anchorage? For what reason? That is one. 2, piloted along the bed. The first agency is the port head. At what time is the port head discharging their duties on board of ship? Because that ship cannot operate without a free fatigue. That is done. We're talking about joint boarding. The customs, the immigration, those are the two agencies. According to the SOP, statutory allowed to go on board first of that vessel, and they must go jointly. And they have a timeline of 45 minutes. Without them carrying their duty, when would that vessel break bulk? It's a cost. And let's now talk of the other respective agencies according to their statutory responsibilities, the NDLEA, SON, and others. That is a very critical factor. And coming to the terminals, discharging. A vessel of length 2.73 meters that you are supposed to have like 6 discharging gangways. You are having only 2 functioning. So if it's required 6 hours for you to discharge X tonnage, you are spending 24 hours. Will bear the cost. And the agents or the vessels, to what extent are they doing the needful to make sure when there is an infraction, it is timely reported? That is where we are going. That report gives us a feedback. And with that feedback, we'll be able to deal with the infractions. Noted. And coming to my brother there, the Lagos Chamber.
Yes.
Who are the operators? Yes. All costs will go on to the operators. To the consignee. Because he must clear all those costs. Now, clearing those costs is coupled with the bad road. is coupled with other infrastructure. Even at the land side, a lot of other agencies. And at the end of the day, all this cost is borne by who? It's borne by you and I, the consumers. And that is why the inflation rate will always be at 2 digits all the time. Now, to what extent as people now are we discharging our duties to ensure that that responsibility given to us by the government is carried out to the letter without any gratification? That is the cardinal point. I want to say as we move on, a lot of things will be unveiled. Because as you speak, we have been getting casualties every day. The awareness is getting high. Reporting are coming on board. And people are paying dearly for it. I pause for now.
Please, what do you mean by casualties? Are people dying or?
For every action, sir, there must be a reaction.
Okay.
The SOP, Standard Operating Procedures, have a lot of things tied to it. That is, when you commit X offense, there is a Y
consequence. Okay.
And a lot of government agencies that has been caught red-handed are paying dearly for it. And a lot of operations, as I speak, are going on in all parts of the Federation. Covertly. Let the whole world know. Covertly.
Yes.
And there are casualties.
Okay. Mr. Bakari, Mr. Fadikwe is speaking and he's giving us some very cryptic signals of different things that are happening. What's the role of the ICPC in this project? And what really are the consequences when the operating procedures are not followed? We'll come back to what is actually these standard operating procedures and where they have come from. But if they're not followed, and then what? Because every day in Nigeria, we see things being flouted and nothing happens. So why should we believe that anything is different about this particular set of reforms that are going on in the ports?
Good morning, everybody. You see, what Mr. Fadikwe said is the truth. In 2012, when MEC reported to Nigerian government at the port, naturally the government wanted agency like ICPC to take action. But ICPC thought that an action based on what? That we needed to understand the nature of the problem. Fortunately, at that point in time, the CRA methodology has been introduced as a means of, understanding the problem of corruption.
CRA as
CRA, Corruption Risk Assessment.
Okay.
So a CRA was now conducted at the ports, Nigerian ports, all the 6 major ports in the country. The findings can be categorized into 2. Service delivery shortfall and the challenge of ethics. So those 2 findings, all agencies at the board, at the ports, now came together in order to implement the recommendations of the CRA. Mr. Fadikwe said that SOPs of port agencies have been developed and we have started implementing the SOPs. Equally, complaint handling mechanism that was faulty initially, was properly addressed, and PSSP, Port Service Support Portal, came on board. I'm glad when I heard this morning that at least 90% of the port users says that they are aware But the usage is another thing. And that is why at ICPC we are very excited, with this collaboration with CBI. The intervention is very timely. Because if people are aware of a particular thing that can solve their major problems, and they are not using it, it means that there are problems. And it is an attempt to solve, the problems that may be existing, that this intervention becomes very, very exciting to us at ICPC. If you flout the rules as per standard operating procedures that says that you should do X, Y, and if you fail to do X, Y, A, B sanction is applicable. The complaint handling mechanism in place presently gives timeline. If a complaint is made concerning a particular agency, the beauty of that is that the complaint is being made against a particular agency, but all agencies at the port are aware of the same complaint. And all will be eager to know what agency A that has been complained against, what that agency will do. So within the time frame specified on the PSSP, if the agency fails to take action, Nigeria Shippers Council, for instance, who is the economic regulator, takes a particular action. If peradventure the issue at stake is intractable to the extent that the timeline given to Shippers Council to resolve that matter is over and nothing has happened, it is at that point that ICPC, as a member of the PSC and as an anti-corruption agency, comes in. And we are determined that henceforth there won't be sacred cow. Like he let the cat out of the bag, that there are presently ongoing, there are covert operations in our ports. Now, we will not allow the stigma that have stayed with Nigerian ports up to this point, we will not allow it to continue. There will be consequences. There will be sanction. And that sanction will be total. Things are happening. It is on record that we have made certain progress with regards to the ease of doing business. The success recorded is not sudden. It has to do since 2012 that we started this process. We have come a long way. But what remains to be done is that we need to fry some people. We need to fry, not just, no kid glove any longer. Enforcement actions will be taken. And that is why it is very important that we are doing this awareness. Be aware, so that the saying, to be forewarned is to be forearmed, will apply effectively.
Okay, maybe I should ask Mr. Vivek Menon from the MACN side, because here you are, from outside, you are listening to all these stories, in quotes, that something is being done about corruption in the ports, things are improving, some people are... Can you give us any examples? Has anybody tried this? And what was the effect of trying this new arrangement? Does it work?
Yeah, good morning again. And a clear example that comes to mind is one of our members, after I think one of the membership meeting we had the last time, the whole portal was presented to them and how to use. There was a case where the immigration was involved, and where there were some documents that were being checked again, and they were not, I think they were in order, but apparently it seemed that from the agency side it was not in order. The vessel was kept for a very long time in port, which also meant that the operations didn't start. It was delayed significantly. But I must say that that case was taken in through the system. It came to the support portal, and a grievance remedy was rendered to the ship. The vessel was released within 24 hours. And since then, that same ship that came back several times found how to mitigate these challenges by themselves using the portal. So where we see is a classic example of a shipping company using the system and challenging the system itself to address their problems. This is not to say that if your paperwork on board the ship, as a captain I know myself, is not in order, then that is a problem. You need to fix that, yes. But when there is a genuine case where everything is in order and it seems that the agencies feel otherwise, we believe for this company, the grievance mechanism worked. And that's the message we want to share within our membership. That is not just that the government agencies have to do what they're supposed to do. We ourselves as members need to take part in this process.
Okay, so Mr. Fadikwe, how many companies or how many complaints have you had through this process? And are they being resolved? What's, we've had one case mentioned now by MACN, but is that it?
Thank you, Mr. Pampa. Please let me seek your indulgence to give you this, to help us in this gathering. Probably you could give it to our media team. Let them quickly bring it to be helpful for the audience, please. Right now, please. I think at this point, it will be necessary to be able to beef up that argument for that site to be projected. And if you are online, you could quickly put it on your phone or your device and look at it. The online mechanism or grievance mechanism they're talking about, what is it about? It is called Port Service Support Portal. Abbreviation PSSP. What is PSSP? PSSP is a software developed for online grievance reporting, online inquiry about the port information with all agencies of government operating in the maritime space. What does it do? It enables you to submit and track your complaint in an online real-time manner. Meaning that when you put the complaints there against any government agency, you'll be able to track at every point in time how that complaint is being handled. And it has a timeline. On that portal, the SOP we are talking about is domiciled on that portal. All the government agencies in the port industry have their SOPs there. And those SOPs were developed by those government agencies themselves. And they are the one who handed it over to us to say, this is what we do, this is how we do it, this is the timeline we carry it out, and if any infraction make us liable. So it's not a question of I did not know. That is the portal we're talking about. Launched by the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, June 23, 2016, and it's in operation. For your information, this year, precisely October 28th to 30th, some couple of weeks ago, in central London, 123 nations, vessel-owning nations, converged and talked about this thing. The special advisor to Mr. President was present to represent Federal Republic of Nigeria. The ICPC chairman was present to represent Nigeria. And the Executive Secretary of Nigerian Shippers Council was present to represent Nigeria. So there's no going back. Our name and image has to be protected. To date, we have over 400 reports on this grievance mechanism. Over 400. And 86% has been successfully dealt with. The question is, why the remaining 14%? There are some that has to do with service failures, and that leads to claims. There are some that, due to the consent of the hearing agency, will decide, let me go for litigation because I'm not liable. But by and large, we are making progress. And we have our links, sir, with all the head of agencies. And in each agency, we have our highs in each agency. The customs, we have our highs there who are part of the port project committee. Because that port project committee are the people on top of this project. If you look at this animation, if you go up, you see all the partners there. Please go up a little, my brother. Just go up a little. Yeah. You can see the port head. You can see the customs, ICPC, UNDP, TUGA, every agency that are party to it, they are all there. So it's not a question of, I know. But before you can navigate on that portal, you must register. You must register. And to register is a simple and clear process. When you click on it, it will direct you on what to do, or to the registration point. And when you do all those things, it will refer you back to your email. So it must be a genuine and correct email, which you can click, and it will give you a line to be able to validate your registration. And it will tell you your registration is successful. After that, you go back to that portal, see login page, put in your details, log in, you are good to go.
Okay, Mr. Menon wants to intervene here.
Yeah, I would just like to, as Mr. Fadipe mentioned, that in London there was our members' meeting, and this was presented. Out of the 400 reports, what we found out, our members have only reported 5 cases. So there has been a learning even for us. And the very reason why we are engaging in this project is, one, as was mentioned, raising the awareness of the work that is already in place from 2016. But there's another reason why they feel that they felt it was not possible to report, is they were a fear of further repercussions if that vessel came back into the port by various agencies. And that was very genuinely brought out even before, but very specifically in the meeting we had. And that is where I would like to go back to that case from where one of our members vouched for the whole system to say that they have not faced any repercussions. So it's also a process of building confidence and trust within our membership that this is actually working. So that's something I want to add. So only 5 cases from membership from our side has been reported, which we want to increase. And after the meeting in London, where they had a very good deliberation with all the members from the Nigerian government, we can see that there is a more genuine interest. People are registering into the system, and they're also requesting their ships to slowly report through the system or through the various other communication channels that the Shippers Council have presented to us. I just want to share that with the audience. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Fadipe, well, I know Mr. Bakari wants to make an intervention, but just to ask, what types of infractions have people been reporting? Because I know captains have complained about feeling threatened by pilots. I know that vessels have complained about not understanding the basis of certain charges that they're being faced with. Some have complained, especially the consignees have complained about the terminals and terminal operators, that they've had to pay excessive demurrage, a lot of which is not actually their fault. We've heard stories of a company that was asked to go and deposit the containers somewhere, and yet that particular container yard was full. And so they were totally frustrated, and demurrage was adding up every day. So in practical terms, what exactly can be done through this arrangement?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Moderator. The infractions are too numerous.
Just give us some examples.
On the vessel side,
yes,
the number one infraction is the issue of requesting for money from vessel captains. And we try to look into it. For example, hypothetical example, a custom official going on board an immigration have their requisites to look for when they go on board a vessel. What are you expected to check? Remember, there should be submission of these documents 7 days prior to that vessel betting alongside. But we discovered that these agencies at the port terminals does not have a functional email for these people to send those things to. We are working on that. That is one. 2, it is the agents, the shipping agents or vessel agents that usually go and convey these officers right from their offices down along bed. You go and convey the customs, you come back. You go and convey the immigration, you come back at whose cost? 3, delays. Time is money. A vessel captain, who knows, he must be at Takoradi 0600 hours, and he must leave here at a particular time. And an official of government is asking for ABCD when he has satisfied all necessary conditions. He will be on the edge. He's ready to part with anything. And that is where we are seeking for the cooperation of the vessel agents. That at a particular point, please report that infraction. We were in Lagos a couple of months ago. I won't mention the agency here for specific reasons because it's still ongoing. When it was exactly 45 minutes, they refused to come down. We gave them another grace of 10 minutes. We went on board. Immediately we got there, the vessel captain was very, very angry. You can see it in his face. So immediately he saw us. Who are these people? Who are these people? I think he has been frustrated. He said, Captain, not to worry. We are your friends. We are a government agency. Which agency? And we greeted our friends there, who are the government officials doing their duties. How are you guys? Well done. How is it going? And they're asking us to those agencies, uniform agencies, who are you? And we told them, we're Nigerian, we are from ABCD. And if you want to question us further, this is who we are. And we observed from the register, which they sign in, but not all of them put the time. You can see another thing. So they are clever. And we make it known to them, you have spent X hours. Any infraction against the captain, and we are checking this, we are asking further for this and this and that. Do you even have right to be asking for those questions? And even if need be, what cost you? They have an agent taking them to your office. Why the vessel captain and his crew can commence operations. Please, leave this vessel now. They have no option. They left, knowing who we are. They left. And when they get down on board of vessel, then our men accosted them for the necessary profiling. And we gave that vessel captain confidence. And we let him know this is what should be. And like you mentioned, as you move further away from Lagos, the bad the situation is. By the time you get to the Focados, the Escravos, it's a different ballgame. But we are working on that. That is on the waterfront. And we are talking to our fellow government agencies too. We are government agencies. God will not come down from heaven and salvage this nation. You and I can salvage this nation and make it great. Vivek mentioned it. Nigerians, we have the men. Go out there. The best ants, as in personnel, are Nigerians. Why not at home here? It's a sad thing. What foundation are we laying for our children? On the land side, you mentioned the terminal operators, the shipping companies. To what extent are they adhering to the rules of the game? Yes, I'm an agent. I went to the shipping company. I want to get my debit note. The system is down. For the whole day, the system can be down. The terminal doesn't want to know the system of the shipping company is down. Who is supposed to issue the deal? The terminal is taking the storage. Eventually, a deal is issued to the terminal again to get my TDO. Until the shipping company send that deal to that terminal for confirmation, terminal will not release that cargo. Is the shipping company do it timely? Now, you take your cargo. For the truck to enter the port, it's another problem. Then the Greek lock and the rest. Demurrage, detention is counting. That's Lagos axis. Coming back to this axis, there has been a lot of reports of vessels coming in, having paid the government statutory duties. There are still some unreceipted people that if you don't pay them, that vessel cannot come in.
Is that the community tax that we're
something
hearing
tax,
of?
tax and the rest. And while you are even at the port here, you see those strange faces, still taxing here and there. Then they said there's slow traffic to the eastern port. How would there be traffic to the eastern port? There's higher freight to the eastern port. How would that vessel owner not want to make sure he has enough indemnity on the vessel and the crew to make sure he's able to break even? And that's why I mentioned the people. Right from the community people to government and everybody, to be able to attract investment to our nation, a lot of things needs to be done. And the only way we can quickly get it done is through data. And that is why this PSSP came on board, to be a one-stop shop for data in the maritime industry in Nigeria. Instead of going to the immigration to say, oh, how many cases were reported to you, customs, how many infractions, Nigerian Shippers Council came in there, this year. This is a one-stop shop which will help government for policy development.
Okay, I know Mr. Bakari wants to make an intervention, but I think it's time for us to throw it also to the audience, because here you have had some super claims of a lot of hard work, incremental work since 2012 by the government, trying to outline how agencies should interact with different customers at the ports, along with timelines, and suggesting that if it's not working as it is on paper, you have a right to complain, and that if you complain, there will be swift assistance from the highest level of government. Because the example that Vivek was giving, he didn't actually mention that what happens in this portal is that it's escalated to the top of all the formations. So the Comptroller General of Immigrations was personally involved in that. And he summoned the persons who were responsible at Focados, summoned them back to Abuja and launched an investigation. So at the highest level of each of the agencies, so if there's a complaint against NDLEA, it will go to the highest level of NDLEA. Or if it's customs, it will go to the highest level of customs. That's the way it has been set up. So please, can we have the ushers take some mics around? Okay, so Mr. Bakari, yes, I will recognize you, sir. We'll come to you. But before you, let me just mention that we also have Dr. Benibo Ibiteng, Assistant Director, Federal Ministry of Health from Port Health. You're welcome. And we also have Mr. Sanusi Muazu, the Assistant Controller of Immigration from One Port, is also here. You're welcome, sir. Yes. Okay, please, can we have the mic here?
Yeah, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Chief Ernest Eluchuku. I represent Port Harcourt Chamber of Commerce, Industrial Mines and Agriculture. In my capacity as the chairman of the Shipping Trade Group of the Chamber. Of course, my president is representing Nasima. So, my comment actually is a bit on the, not a question, but it's more like a question. But it's a rhetorical question. For instance, I am wondering, it's heartwarming to know that something is being done about the state of things in the port. But I keep on thinking in my mind, what are we actually working to? This SOP, is there no way it could make corruption? It could be designed to make corruption, if not impossible, but difficult. Because I know that some years back, when we worked at the Presidential Committee on the 24-hour cargo delivery, that we were much bent on timeline allocation. Because I heard that, maybe it takes maybe customs 45 minutes to go and board a vessel, and that's allocated. And then also immigration, I don't know whether at the same time, and so many. But let's talk about everything that goes on at the port. Would it not be possible to just allocate the minimal time that any function should be performed? And if that function is not performed, the person who is to perform it should explain why it can be performed in such a way that it doesn't disturb the flow. Because sometimes catching the criminal may be good, like war against corruption, like the people who are involved, ICPC and the anti-corruption. Yes, it may be good, but making people not have opportunity to be corrupt will help our country better. Because I talk about, there's something that this gentleman said about reporting. You know, many people are always afraid to report. Because they say, when you report, that matter could be treated. But thereafter, when you come back again, you will still see those people. And then not that person, some other person who is also part of the system will deal with you. And again, when we talk about service, when service left on a loose end, that anybody rendered it at his own time and space, that is where corruption is always possible. That's my humble contribution to this. That I think that we should go walk back, especially with the stakeholders, to say what and what are needed to make this thing so difficult for people to be corrupt at the port. Thank you very much.
Okay, do we have another person who wants to make an intervention from the floor? Okay, back to the panel. Just to let you know, he's made it very clear that can we not have standard operating procedures that make the corruption difficult in the first place? But in the end, it seemed to boil down to having service level agreements, clear services to be delivered, timelines by which they should be delivered, consequences for not delivering them, and so on. Then he took the issue of fear of retribution, which I was hoping that Vivek had already dealt with, because those who have reported have continued to call at these ports, the same ports, without any hint of retribution. In fact, they no longer need to report. They don't get asked for those illegal payments anymore. So those who are getting those illegal payments, who are being asked, are the ones who are still timid to actually report that they're being asked for this money. Some are being threatened, and we know that there's a real threat. But when it has been reported, people have backed off. So I don't know if you'd like to comment.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Akwamba. With regards to the contribution of my brother there, the SOP, Standard Operating Procedures developed by all the agencies, has, what you referred to, timeline for specific activities, clearly stated. And if that timeline is not complied with, what happens? It's clearly stated in the SOPs. We want you to have a look at the SOP.
The SOPs are available on this
PSSP,
site.
on the platform.
So www.pssp.ng. You will find a page for SOPs.
That's the SOP there.
When you click, you will see where you can click for the SOPs.
Clearly stating the activities and the timeline. And we are not even stopping at that. The committee is in the process of releasing what we call the single process card. That is going to be like the workflow of activities, stating the timeline. If this, then what? If not this, then what? It's going to be released pretty soon. The work on it is completed. We are going to, just going through the process of finalization. So SOP in itself enables every port users to know if and when you are at fault. It enables you to know if and when you are doing the right thing. And anybody now trying to be a bottleneck, PSSP provides the opportunity for you to report such a person or such an organization. If that is done, yes, anonymous reporting is guaranteed. Mr. Fadipe will speak on that pretty soon. You see, let me quickly address this fear of repercussion. I'm very happy to note, as Mr. Fadipe has noted, that 6% of the 400 report that has been made on the PSSP has been addressed, and no single repercussion has been reported. If that is so, the fear of repercussion, I want to say, is unfounded. It is natural. It is natural reaction of, human reaction, that you will fear that there could be repercussion. But I am giving you the assurance, we are at all the agencies at the back end of this PSSP, this complaint handling portal. All of us are, if a case is reported against immigration, for instance, Customs is aware, NPA is aware, everybody at the back end, we are all aware, and with the eagle eye of ICPC at the back end too, we are waiting for the resolution of that matter. So, repercussion in itself is a ground for another report. So if there is any repercussion, report on the same platform and flag what you are suffering against. ICPC will take it up, because that is even going beyond service delivery challenge. Is coming into the area of concrete law. There is going to be it's going to be malicious action against such a person, and abuse of office can be proven. And that takes, in the law as it is today, that takes 7 years jail time without any option of fine. Nobody will want to flout that. Just flag it. If there is any repercussion against something that you have reported on that platform, flag it. ICPC will be able to take it up, and we will see it to the logical conclusion. But I just want to note again that the agents can be very, very funny. The agents feed fat on these things that we are talking about. They exaggerate some of these things in order to flex. I mean, they are clients. So the problems may not be fear of repercussion, but they do not want to use, the platform, because the platform will take the juicy milk out of their mouth. And we cannot stand by and allow the rot like this to continue. We have to do something, and this is the time to put a stop to those things. So abuse of office and malicious, litigation can be taken against any agent, any agency, or agency of government that carries out any act of repercussion on anybody that has reported on the PSSP. So put that at the back of your mind, that this one, the government is solidly behind this one, and we are not going to. The maritime and port sector is huge, and we need it. This the situation that the country is in, we need the survivor of the maritime industry in Nigeria. We need to introduce efficiency and effectiveness into the industry. So we cannot allow anybody to draw us back. There won't be any repercussion, I can assure you. Thank you.
Okay. If I can just mention that we have a delegation from the Ports Authority here. But before that, let me recognize Chief Sir Ernest Elochukwu, who has introduced himself and who asked the question that has provoked all this discussion. You're very welcome, sir, from the Port Harcourt Chamber of Commerce, and who's the chairman, Shipping Trade Group. Engineer Ibrahim Yunusa is the port manager for Nigerian Ports Authority. Where are you, sir? Okay, a round of applause for him, please. With him, we also have Dr. Ofisong, Principal Manager Training, and Mr. E.I. Inyang, the Senior Manager Safety, and MOD Emanuela, who is the Port Legal Officer as well. You're all welcome to this meeting. I wonder if the Ports Authority wants to make a comment at all at this point on the standard operating procedures and the quest by shippers to have more predictable time and cost for calling at Nigerian ports. There have been complaints by shippers that sometimes they are presented with charges from terminal operators and other people who are under the control of the Ports Authority, charges that they can't quite explain, and they don't feel is fully justified. I don't know if there are any comments you would like to make. Sorry, I'm trying to really wind the button and get you to say something. Okay. Please, can you take the mic down that way, please? Yeah.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
The chairman of the panel. My name is Engineer Nusa Ibrahim, as said earlier, the port manager of Rivers Port. Actually, we were just told that the organization sent an invitation letter to us, and very unfortunate I didn't get the invitation up to this moment. When we got the news from our headquarters, we had to rush down here. So please, we apologize for the late coming. I'm happy to see the topic that is being discussed today, and I was delighted as a point when I came in, when the issues of agents and in the ports have been discussed. Actually, in the ports, I think Nigerian Ports Authority have done her best, and they're still doing, as far as the present management is concerned, to ensure that the ease of doing business and transparency is being carried out within the Ports Authority. And everybody should know, the agents around should know that Nigerian Ports Authority launched a site which is a kind of portal which all our stakeholders and our customers are told to have access to whenever they have any complaint. They can launch their complaint on that site, which will enable the management take decision on any issue raised. So in furtherance to check corruption at the port, Nigerian Ports Authority Management has also came out with a SOP that had been published on our website for all the customers and stakeholders to have access to. These are issues that the management has given a very big attention to. And I resumed here about 4 months ago at the river ports, and I can testify that since I resumed, there is no single complaint from any agent concerning any lapses, towards their operations. I've been waiting. We have a daily party meeting with all the agents that operate in the ports, and we rub shoulders on issues. But I have not got any major complaint from the agents within the ports. And I can tell you in terms of delivery, since I resumed as a person, there is no single document that enter my table that I have not put time in. In fact, if you go to my office or any part of within the port, search any document I have endorsed, I put the date and time. Why are we doing that? To ensure that any person that is found wanting, any officer that is found wanting in the delivering of service, we can pick it up with him. Because if an agent complains and they will go into the document, we will know when the document leave one table to another. These are issues that Nigerian Ports Authority is trying as much as possible to put in place. And again, in terms of service delivery to the vessels, we ensure that boarding of vessels at the same time is being carried out. Of recent time, we have to enforce it. We have provided a bus and they provided a point where everybody that is entitled to board a vessel to meet, and the board enter the bus and go to the vessel when the vessel call on the berth. So for Nigerian Ports Authority, we are doing our best to ensure that issues concerning ease of doing business is complied with. So I don't know, just as I said, even the port, the Nigerian Ports Authority also has established in all the ports an anti-corruption unit headed by the legal officer of that port. So we have a committee, a standing committee on that issue, whereby we ensure we sensitize all the agents and the stakeholders within the port from time to time by this committee, so that anybody that have an issue that a port worker or any of the users is involved in a corruption issue should be reported to them. And they also have the synergy with the ICPC and the EFCC within the state used to hold meeting from time to time also. So on that aspect, I think Nigerian Ports Authority is doing her best to ensure that things are being done the way federal government wanted them to be done. We also ensure continuous power supply in case of any complaint of delay of documents. And I don't know until we hear from our stakeholders here, the lapses they have, then we can take it up. How and we are tackling such issues. Because in terms of the concessionaires and the vessel owners, I don't think we have any major complaint from them for now. Because if you have that issue, we'll surely take it up as far as the present management is concerned. Thank you very much.
A round of applause, please. Okay, can I just ask for a show of hands, how many of us here before today were aware of these standard operating procedures that have come out of the work of the Ports Reform Steering Committee? How many have heard about before today? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Okay, so about 18 of us out of almost 100. I'm sure we must be up to 100 in here, but it's like 20% of us who have heard about it. How many of us have heard of the grievance reporting mechanism? Not the website of NPA, but this PSSP, Port Service Support Portal, before today. How many have heard about it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so maybe about 10% of us had heard about it as well. So this now brings us to the challenge of the day, which is how do we popularize it? Because you heard from NPA that they're doing so many things in order to make it easier to do business. You have heard from the panelists saying they have done so many things to improve the ease of doing business. But if only 10% of us are aware that we can get redress, and maybe only 20% of us are aware of the services that we should get, how do we think we should improve? What should we do? Can we take the microphones round? Can we have suggestions? Yes, the gentleman wanted to make an intervention earlier. So if you can take the mic to him.
Other comments before your question.
Please go ahead, sir. Introduce yourself, sir.
Okay, my name is Ofon Odofia. I am here in two capacities. One as the Executive Secretary of Institute of Export Operations and Management, and also as the President of Rivers Bayelsa Shippers Association. I want to first of all quickly react to what demand from MPS said, because I know that the Shippers Council has a complaint portal. Customs also have. The NPA said they have one, and we have payback. I think we should collapse all this so that when we are reporting one another, you hear what we are talking about. The proliferation of all these platforms are not helping us. And I want to say it categorically, I don't owe anybody apology. Payback has failed because we've reported so many things, and we find out that it's better for you to go and bribe than to wait for them. Business is about timing. Except we are not here to tell ourselves the truth. I'm being a little bit raw. If I have a cargo in the port, and I know that going through a payback will take me 2 months, and I can do an unrestricted payment and get out of the next 1 hour, which one do I prefer? Let's tell ourselves the truth. So I think those platforms should be collapsed, so that when I'm reporting MPA, Custom will also see. When I'm reporting Shippers Council, the other agencies will see who is not doing well. Instead of having this at their own beck and call, and there will be the people that will be controlling it. So there should be a supervisor or let me say somebody like
a coordinating
body looking at this, because it's very disappointing and frustrating. So most of my members have issues, and you try to help them. At the end of it, nothing works. So you go back to the traditional way of doing things, which is the unrestricted payment. Then to NPA, I want to say this. We had meetings years before now about pilot quota, about tugboats. If most of the shippers that are here will be sincere to themselves and ourselves, you pay for services not rendered and the money is not returned. It counts on the cost of the items you are selling. If I am to pay for a terminal operator, to NP and all the likes, that service should be rendered. But you pay for a tugboat and it's not rendered, you still go back to hire. And after we say the cost of doing business in the Eastern Port is high, I'm talking particularly about the Eastern Port. Because if we don't bring in cargo here, kidnapping will not stop. I must say that because when people are busy, they don't look at elsewhere. So the Eastern Port must work. So NPA should tell us what they are doing more on that, on services paid for. Then again, about a couple of months ago, I know there's a presidential committee on the Eastern Port to work. And that committee recommended 30% rebate across board. But MP has just given 10% on harbor dues. What is the value of that? That comes to about 1.4 million naira. Can you put your vessel on the street, on the Niger Delta water, based on the purported security situation they are talking about? So, sir, this is my second time of attending this meeting. And I'm appealing that it should be impactful so that next time you call us again, we'll be here. Thank you.
This is our first time of being here. We don't know.
Okay, I mean, MSC, and they've done something here before. I don't know. Maybe it's a different. They've come to train us on.
Yes, training is different to this stakeholders meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so it's good. Need to see you. One of the people who were trained before. Okay, so Mr. Fadikpe is suggesting that they need a portal that allows everybody to see everything at the same time. What kind of portal is yours?
PSSP, that's what he's talking about. You see, you are only seeing the front end. There's a back end. That back end are the representatives of each agencies who can log into the back end and see what's at the back end. So if you are a representative of a particular agency, you log into the back end, you are going to see all the complaints. What is it about? Against who? What is the infraction? Even if it does not concern you, you see everything. As that person, outlive the timeline, is it not talking? You see it. So that's the portal Mr. Odofia is talking about. And that is the PSSP. Okay. But let me quickly address Chief Ernest's concern. Chief Ernest, please. I want to have your ears, please. You are the chairman of the Shipping Trade Group. Okay. As I'm addressing it, I want the chamber, legal chamber, to take note. I want Chief Udofia to take note. And I want every other CEO here to take note. It takes two to tango. The vessel and the agent. The consignee on the land side and all the requisite government officials, custom, immigration, and the rest. And the fear of backlash. If there is no problem, corruption cannot thrive. You see any society that is very rowdy, very, very rowdy, pickpocket will be there, armed robbery will be there, commotion will be there, then corruption will thrive. But you see where everything is plain, balanced, organized. Orderly. Everybody is watchful. I make bold to say it. The vessel agents are out to make money. How do they make it? They have to connive with the government officials at the expense of the vessel owner. The agent, clearing agent now, freight forwarder, has to make money by still conniving with the same government officials at the expense of the consignee. At what point do they come to this mechanism? When there's a disagreement between two of them. You will now see them running here. But when there's an agreement, you will never see them running here. And I'm surprised here that agents are not speaking. I'm very surprised. Because in Port Harcourt here, we've got a series of reports to say, oh, MPA, sir, you are most welcome. I'm glad to meet you here, and I will still want to see you at the end of this thing. Thank you very much for that wonderful job you are doing. But I've seen agents coming to us, vessel agents, to say after paying for pilotage, they must still pay what they call pepe.
Pepe.
Pepe. That's the language they use. That if no pepe, vessel cannot move. And some of them are here. Now, what are we saying here? You are fearing to report. How can we make changes? In Lagos, sir, the deputy MD of a shipping company called to intervene on behalf of the agencies arrested to say, oh, I don't want the whole world to say this happens in my terminal. I mean, in my terminal. We said we are not going to publish. Don't worry, we won't publish. At the point of publication, the whole world will see why the publication. It's about sanitizing the ports. And at that point, you see some reasons. But be that as it may, the project coordinator are now coming up with what we call anonymous. It's a gap. In a couple of months, there will be anonymous reporting, whereby you can still report and not still disclosing your identity. In a couple of months, this PSSP will be on your app, on your Android, on your iOS, whereby you can go to the Play Store and download like any other app. You are good to go on your phone. Chief Ernest, I believe you have what you call a monitoring unit in the chamber. Monitoring unit in the chamber. Because I know Lagos chamber, you have a monitoring unit. What are those monitoring units monitoring every day? You are to monitor your members' activities across the ports. How many reports have you got from them? How many reports have you escalated to the requisite government agencies to do the needful? Then until and unless, sir, we are bold enough to hold the bull by the horn, we continue to complain. There is no redistribution. There is no backlash. That's about that. On the timeline you mentioned, sir, there's a timeline. And for the record, let me put it here. On joint boarding of vessels, Nigerian Ports Authority coordinates that committee on joint boarding. I have the report, where it was clearly stated who will boss in, who will boss out. And what are those requirements when you are bossing in? Government officials have nothing to take on board other than their working tool and ID card when they are bossing in. And they must declare it. You have no business carrying a traveling bag or a knapsack at your back to go on board and coming down with gift items. And nothing forbid you from collecting gifts. Yes, a captain might be well happy to receive you, give you gift, but we are saying when you are coming down, there's a gift register. You must register in that gift register to say, look, I collected this gift. Because the implication is this. Vivek, I'm happy you are here. You are a captain, and in all your years of service, you've been giving that gift too. And you're happy to give it. Now, those gifts you are giving, you must have a record for your principal to say, my principal, when I was in Nigerian territorial waters, I give gifts worth $10,000. Who pays for that $10,000? It is you and I. And when you go on board, the items on board are clearly stated to be consumed on board. Why do you have to take down the vessel in knapsack, in big bags, and take it to your house? How much are they selling these things? Mineral, cigarette. For God's sake. Yeah. So, sir, NPA, sir, please, when you are now busting them in and busting them out, ensure, because it is your document, it is not my document, ensure that they adhere to what is stated in that document. It's the ID card and their working tools. That is one. Then two, how many people are allowed to go on board? For the port head, it's a maximum of 3 officials to go on board. If there are more than 3, the vessel agent must raise a flag for the porthead. And the maximum time allowed for them on board is 45 minutes. 45 minutes. If peradventure there's an infraction that will make them to stay beyond 45 minutes, it must be reported immediately. While we are staying beyond. And immediately NPA will bust those people in. That is the immigration and the customs at the same time. Immigration and the customs at the same time. And they have equally 45 minutes to do their work. At the dot of 45 minutes, they must come down. You know it's now 1 hour, 30 minutes. Yeah, 90 minutes. But 45 minutes for porthead went exactly 1 hour, which means immigration and customs have spent 15 minutes out of their time. Break bulk and operation can commence. The vessel can commence operation, where they now continue with their remaining 30 minutes to do their work. And if outside that 45 minutes too, they must come down. The other agencies, while operation is going on, if there is need for them to board that vessel, they can as well go in, do their job, and come down. But what we are saying is that when they are going in, there is a register. They must sign that register. And that's where the vessel operators come into place too. Because it's your people that are managing that register. They must ensure that this man, you've not written your time. Please write your time correctly. And when that man is coming down too, let him write his time correctly. So the question of people working at their own time and space, you mentioned, that's why I'm coming to NASA. People working at their own time and space should not arise anymore. You've known what it takes. So ensure people are there still to that time and space. And if not, raise a flag. Report it on that PSSP, please. Then, sir, NPA, sir, I want to quickly address this issue of port recovery charge. Port recovery charge, which is now in the debit notes of the shipping companies. Some few years back, it's not there. But now you see it there on the debit notes. And the argument is that our ports are very expensive to run. That you wake up one day, you see another charge. I'm happy that there is now synergy among the agencies. We have here the zonal director for the south zone, which covers about 8 states. His name is Mr. Izaogo. He's riding here with us. Mr. Iza, please let them see you. You have to go and meet with the NPA man. You can do a lot together on this project. Mrs. Eniola Williams is a member of this port project steering committee in Abuja. He's the head of NPA. And the best I know of her is a no-nonsense woman when it comes to zero tolerance for corruption. And I can continue to mention names on and on and on. But sir, as from today, sir, Chief Ernest, let us see you to be a partner. Your group, the monitoring team, go and teach them what I expected of them. And let us then let them start to raise flags. If they refuse to raise any flag, they are beneficiary of that proceed. And that's the honest truth. I pause for now, sir.
Okay. Just Mr. Ofyong, just to come back to you again, you said your members have a lot of issues. Here is your opportunity. You say you want to know whether this thing works or it's just talk. Here is your opportunity. Put it in the system and let us have proof of the pudding. You said payback doesn't work. It takes months. They are telling you that they can resolve it if you give them the information. It is usually resolved in a matter of days at the most. So let's challenge the system so that next time when we come together, if it doesn't work, we too will join you in saying it doesn't work. So please don't let them go. especially Shippers Council that has made this pronouncement.
Mr. Moderator, sir.
Then,
Moderator, sir.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Udofia is a veteran. Now, Mr. Udofia is somebody I regard to as a walk-in customer. You know, on the PSSP, we have categories of customer.
Okay.
We have the online customer. We have the walk-in customer.
Yes.
We have the email customer. We have the message customer. And we have the telephone customer. It's a walk-in customer. You can tell the whole world what complaint you have ever brought as a walk-in that has never been treated. Embrace the online. It helps you to do it at the confine of your office.
Okay, so we'll come back to Chief Ernest Elochukwu. No, Chief has been waiting. You will get a chance. You will get a chance to respond. Yes. Because we only have like 5-10 minutes more of this interaction.
Yeah,
yes.
Good afternoon once again.
Good afternoon, sir.
I guess it's afternoon now.
Still morning, sir.
Yeah, or still morning. Okay.
Yes.
Maybe my watch is doing some funny trick. Actually, ladies and gentlemen, I am happy that there is this opportunity, this platform, something that works. But when I mentioned, like when Mr. Fadibe was talking about, he put certain things that may look extraneous, may be conjecture. For instance, in my capacity as the national president of ANARCA then, I led a delegation of my association to meet with the then presidents of the country in 2007. And at a particular point, the issue was, it is you people that gain from the thing that goes on in the port. Why have you come? And I say, Your Excellency, we came because we want Nigeria to be like every other country. That every other country, you can sit and know from the word go before you make an import what is going to cost you. That is only in this country that you can import something for 10 times, you have different costs, 10 different costs.
Yes.
Now, we are making progress, no doubt. But I think that the progress is very slow. And that's why I still go back on that other issue of how was the SOP formulated. Because there was some incident that I was forced to pronounce before the president and commander-in-chief. Because he said, okay, give me a good example. And I said, okay, that my company, because all this time we're talking about ships and all that, I thought it all has to do with everything at the port.
It's everything, sir.
Good. Now, I said my company then cleared consignment of ambulances for the Bayelsa state government. Now, during the examination, the inspection, all the team for the joint examination, they came in, saw everything, the ambulances, when the containers were opened, they saw all emblazoned for Bayelsa state government. Now, they went on to release. One agency refused, demanding for something. And I wasn't willing to part with that because I said they saw what every other person saw. And at the end of the day, the gentleman requested that the containers that had been stacked back up should be brought back again down, and we should go bring out everything, put on the tires, roll them out for him to inspect. It's within his ambit of law to do. And so, my staff asked me something. Oga, what is it going to cost us comparatively? We'll have going to go through all this, pay demurrage on it again, probably lose the client, compared to whatever it is that we're going to do. Of course, common sense dictated what we did. What I'm trying to say is that what I'm trying to say is that if we really want Nigeria to be what we want it to be, then it's time we start going beyond textbook issue, saying that it's theoretical. Oh, we are making progress. We are surely making progress. But what is the speed of progress? And is there no way we can bypass a whole lot of things and get to where we want to be? That is my own, because from the ship point, it's almost like entry, like tip of the iceberg, getting into the port as a whole. So, but everybody, like Okay, like the MPA thing. Most of the time when we talk about the MPA concession the port. And like somebody said, this is like a landlord who let out his house and decided to be a gate man again. There are many things that the MPA had been doing in the system that isn't necessary now because they have concession the port out. But I think that let it not go into a war of, this man said this or that. Okay, sorry. What I'm trying to say is that I have already put it in my suggestion. We should do more tinkering on what will work at first. Because if you now say, okay, report, and people are reporting, some will be treated, some will be successful, some will not be. And like somebody said, reprisal or
retribution.
Or no. Backlash. I think
Okay.
better. The backlash don't come from the person that was concerned. It's just like there is a kind of
Esprit de corps.
esprit de corps.
Yes.
So when you hot one, hot in quote, you'll be
hot
hot
all.
again. Because you like to hot all. So my own suggestion is let's work out a way that will make it impossible, make it minimal, so that it can be reported. But if it's everyday occurrence that you have to keep on reporting, at a point you too will be tired. With due respect, our own people, we are reporting in our own way. It is not like we are keeping quiet. Everybody wants, I believe that most people, especially those who are professionally involved in the port, they want a port system that works. They want it to work. And like what he's saying about those wanting to fleece, when we did something on the presidential committee, we also talk about what is the reasonable pricing for whatever service you are rendering, even as a private person. It can be agreed. Oh, you don't charge above this, or you don't charge below this. And let it be known that you are getting something for your service. Now, if in the process, you now decide to now go do something else to get more, now something will be, but if it's an open-ended thing, well, by my own experience, it's like port reform has started since in the 80s, and that is like 30-something years ago, close to 40 years now, and we're still reforming. Can't we stop somewhere? Thank you very much.
Okay, I think we should actually start somewhere, which is to test what has been put in place. If we test it and it doesn't work, then we should all be in agreement that it doesn't work. But don't knock it until you've tested it. We take the message from you, Sir Chief, that there is a lot more engagement that needs to happen around the standard operating procedures. We also heard that in previous stakeholder gatherings, with challenge being made to the government officials that how involved was the private sector. But these SOPs were developed by the agencies themselves. So perhaps there is opportunity to have a process to submit suggestions for updates on this. And I think that NPA will agree with us, as was said also by the MD of NPA, that some of these things are due for updates at this time. Odofia, you can have the final word. That is if you need it. Please, can you pass the mic to him?
Sorry, I thought I would talk before Odofia.
Sorry, sir. I want to claim your indulgence that the other agencies should not look at this platform as if it's for Shippers Council.
Oh, okay.
Why I'm saying so is that, or the other back end that Fadibe was talking about, if other agencies are very conscious to see, okay, what is happening in my ecosystem today? Has somebody reported me? It's one thing to have the platform, another thing is the usage. And I also want to challenge the private sectors like we are. Let's keep on using it. That is the only way we can say, okay, this one is not working, this one is working. Like I'm talking about Pebek. I can even tell the vice president, I've spoken to Jumoke before, say this is why I say it is not working. Because what they told us, the time has lapsed. For over 2 months, we were going on a one issue. So I want all of us to look at that platform. And then again, we've been shouting single window. This platform is more or less like a single window. I was in Bumbasa Port. I did not need to see anybody to clear what I want to clear. Why can't Nigeria come to that stage? With this platform, we can achieve that. So I also want to appeal, as it were, down here, we are suffering. The cost of doing business in the Eastern Port is very high. And almost 90% or 80% of the cargo that comes to Lagos still come back here, having impact on our route. So if all these things are taken into consideration, it will help us. I want to thank Fadigbe, because why he said is that I reported a matter to him. Honestly speaking, I was so impressed. One of my members. You know, when they want to strangle you, they do it on weekend. So something happened over the weekend, and I called him on a Friday night. But I want to thank Shippers Council because the person involved wrote an apology, because I said, I don't just want to get it, but I want you to write to us that you've offended us. And that was achieved. So, Fadik, but that's not to say you should relax. Work more.
So don't rest on your oars. So it has been acknowledged that this process is working. It's also acknowledged that not enough of us are using it. Yes, sir.
Sorry, just for a second. Sorry for the delay.
Yes, sir.
I would like to comment on a few issues that have been raised by some of the members here. Chief, sorry, the recap chief. Please, I forgot your name. You made mention
Chief
about
Ernest,
other clients.
Chief
Chuku. You made mention of other clients that before you enter into business or import any goods to the country, you have all the costs involved, the procedures involved before you enter it. I think Nigerian Ports Authority have gone beyond that. We published our charges on our website. One thing with Nigerians is we find it difficult to read, as we said, to go into the website and find out about an organization. Have you been going to the website of Nigerian Ports Authority to see the charges? And another issue is talking of, fast movement of doing business without moving about, without carrying your documents. The Nigerian Ports Authority even introduced what we call RINGS, that is Revenue Invoice Management System, that we don't need our agents to come to the offices concerned to move their document. Even when you advise them, they will still come. You know how Nigerians behave. They will still come. They don't need to come to our commercial department to ask for documents. You stay in your house and you can impute everything you want. That's why we introduce RIMS, which is in operation in all the ports today. And I can tell you, some of the agent, there was a situation last 2 weeks which I had to go to BATI meeting to discuss with them. An agent submit a BATI request application. As a port manager, I had to sign it out quickly. As I told you, no paper slip in my office since I resumed. I must sign every paper, mostly operational papers. It cannot take more than 5 to 6 minutes in my office unless there's human factor somewhere. But you see an agent submitting application for BATI. The same agent will submit application in the next 1 hour for selling, even when the vessel have not reported at the Boni anchorage. And I went to BATI meeting because it happened in a practical sense. I signed both documents thinking that I was doing a favor, that the vessel has battered. And you believe it, that vessel never called at the BAT. And they know the implication of that. I have signed for selling the vessel that I have not battered. So some of these agents, just as you said, they are doing a lot of things that we ourselves, because Chief mentioned of why should Nigerian Ports Authority be involved in some of these things. One, any team marine services, the law, the constitution said Nigerian Ports Authority should take care of marine services. Why? Because of security reasons. We cannot sell our marine services to foreigners because most of the concessionaires are foreigners. And the marine services involve security. That is the aspect I want you to know, that Nigerian Ports Authority must be involved in some of these services. And we have introduced a lot of things, as I said, that the agents themselves, they are not ready even to abide by the procedures. Because if they follow it, I don't think we'll be having all these problems here and there. We have a situation, no vessel, you see, because we control the pilotage. It's true. We bring the vessel to the BAT by our pilot. But we have introduced a situation that any vessel that comes first must be batted first. A situation can we have congestion at the reverse port because of a problem we have with a terminal operator. And another terminal operator who is in operation is taking advantage, which he wanted to do what we call selective batting. Because we had a serious argument about 2 weeks ago that he has a right as a concessionaire to select which vessel to bat first or not. And we told her no. We told the man no. The Nigerian Port Authority has a procedure. First come, first serve. Because all the vessels, most of them are chartered. So you cannot tell someone who comes last week and another person that comes today, because you have interest on the one that comes today because he has more revenue for you, to bat before the person that comes last week. We have to we have to call for a meeting and iron it out with the concessionaires. So now we are not doing our best. But the agents have to help us also, because all these things are also caused by agents. Imagine a situation, a vessel is discharging, the concessionaire will come and say this vessel should be shifted to another place, or shift off the berth for another vessel to come in and discharge her own before the one berth or discharging before come back in the second time. You know the cost of doing that. To the point I had to, who is to pay for the shifting? The agents they go together and agree with the concessionaires who's to pay or who's not to pay, and at that point we become handicapped. When the man who is the owner of the vessel, the agent in charge of the vessel, agree that his own vessel should be shifted for another vessel to come in first, we don't know what goes under there. So there is no way. These are issues that we are trying as much as possible to put a check as a landlord. You cannot just give your house to tenant and they just abandon it like that. We must look at some issues. We must control it for your house to last. Because ours is to build the image of the Nigerian Ports Authority. The Nigerian Ports Authority is about Nigeria, it's not about Nigerian Ports Authority. Anything that happen in any port, they will say Nigerian ports, not rivers port. So that's why we are putting all effort to checkmate all these issues we are talking about. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. I think there was one last question here. Okay.
My name is Chidi Ayinitaju from Nigeria Maritime Administration and Safety Agency. Actually, mine is not a question, and it's just to appeal to the stakeholder in the industry to please let them be aware there's already a paradigm shift from how things used to be done. We have looked at the way things used to be done. It's embarrassing to the government, it's embarrassing to the individual in the nations, and the government has come together to create a solution to have a standard operating procedure. And what CBI is here today is to sell this standard operating procedure to the public, that this is a solution. This solution is a win-win, both to the government and to the stakeholders. So I just want to appeal to them to test the system and fault it before we say, yes, we have been doing reforms. We have been doing reforms, but this is one reform that is going to take us to the next level. This is because it is internationally backed up and being aware. That's a metric where they measure whether Nigeria is still continuing the old ways or Nigeria is operating on the new level. So please, the stakeholders should not see it as if it's a solution to Shippers Council portal. No, it's not a Shippers Council portal. It was launched by the Vice President of the Nations, and we are even saying, NIMASA even went ahead to establish a service level agreement with our stakeholders. And we are saying we have a document that binds us, that if the services we promise to render to you, we are not doing it, do this. You can even go ahead, leave our this thing, and go to the PSSP to go and report the matter. If our office, if you see any infraction that any of the government agency from our side has done something very wrong, go to PSSP and report it, launch your complaints there. We've created a lot of social medias, Twitters, Facebook, and all those stuff, where we expected feedback from the stakeholders. If things are not working the way we promise it's going to be, you go to those places and report. We want to see the feedback. That is what makes a system work. You create the solutions and it's not working. you get the feedback it's not working, you improve on it. So please, let us just look at this system, that this system is going to enhance activities in the maritime industry. It's a win-win for the stakeholders. It's a win-win for the government. And the way we go about it is that we should test the system. Thank you, sir.
Okay. So, in conclusion, then, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, what we will take from this is that we would look for a way to expand the engagement around the standard operating procedures to make sure that it covers all the things that we're looking for. But the biggest conclusion is that we shouldn't knock it until we've tried it. That there is something which is working. Even if it is coming slowly and incrementally, we should test it first before we reject it. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, this brings us to the end of the panel session and also the end of today's engagement. Please join us in having one-on-one discussions and with lunch, because lunch is now ready and is served. So please have lunch with us, network with other people before we depart. Please join me in giving a round of applause to our panelists. Yeah, can we have a photograph? Thank you. If we can ask the government officials here to please join us for a photograph for the record, and other stakeholders as well. So we'll first take with the panelists. Okay. Okay, can we have men of the uniformed forces to join us? And NPA, Nimasa, please, can you join us? There was somebody from Port Health as well. Somebody from Port Health, can you join us as well? Immigrations, I think there's also someone from Immigrations. Ah, okay. Sorry. All of you, please come. Please blend in. Please blend in with us. Yes. You're welcome, sir. Yes, sir. Yes. Please come forward. Come forward, madam. Yes. Madam. Let's take it quickly, please. This platform is not strong. Please take it. Thank you. Thank you, madam. Thank you. Yes. Oh, you were in the train. Okay. Yes. The Chambers of Commerce, if you can also join us. Mike. Yes. Okay. Yes. Thank you. Okay. Chief, can we have representatives of NASIMA and Port Harcourt Chamber, members, private sector?
funded by Danida, we are ready to engage with all the stakeholders in order to make it happen. And we're here to continuously do that over the next 3 to 4 years.
Thank you very much, Mr. Soja Pampa. Wishing you all the best to return our blue economy to great heights. Thank you.
Thank you.